Most people spend hours staring at a blank screen, just trying to sound smart online. It's a deeply frustrating, lonely process. Meanwhile, a few creators are quietly using AI. They increase their output by 400%, and they easily triple their engagement.
Yeah, it is completely jarring when you finally see it. They're playing a totally different game now.
They really are.
They aren't just working harder, they've completely re-engineered how they work.
Welcome to our deep dive for today. We're unpacking a highly practical document. It's called AI-Powered Personal Branding, the Complete Growth Roadmap.
It's a great read.
Our mission today is to figure out exactly how this works. We're going to explore why personal branding is now a data-driven science. We will look at how to overcome the fear of starting.
Right, the beginner paralysis.
Exactly. We'll unpack the exact 4-step module to build a brand, and finally, how to automate it.
It used to be a lot of blind guesswork. Now building a brand is a structured, measurable operating system. It's kind of wild how accessible this tech is for anyone today.
But before we get into the technical machinery of this system, we really need to pause. We need to understand why it's suddenly so powerful.
Yeah.
Why is this an absolute necessity for you right now?
Well, a strong brand clearly signals deep credibility, LinkedIn research shows professionals with defined brands get 3 times more inbound inquiries.
Wow, 3 times more.
Right. It builds essential trust before you even speak a single word. In the current digital landscape, it's easily your most valuable asset.
The noise is deafening online.
Exactly, and a brand cuts right through that noise.
3 times more is a massive operational advantage that directly impacts your actual business opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. It leads to lucrative freelance contracts. It opens doors for valuable thought leadership roles.
When people feel like they know you, they buy from you.
But it requires a very consistent posting frequency to actually work, and you need incredibly cohesive messaging across all your channels. The HubSpot data confirms this.
It's like stacking Lego blocks of data. Every single post and visual is a block. AI just makes sure they all fit perfectly together.
I love that analogy, right? And Claude is essentially the instruction manual, while Canva actually makes the plastic bricks.
It builds a highly recognizable visual style for you.
Yeah, things like colors, fonts, and layouts remain perfectly unified. When people see it scrolling by, they instantly know it's you.
The data on this is simply staggering to read. The roadmap mentions students from the AI Fire program. They saw a 1,200% LinkedIn engagement jump.
In just 3 months.
Right. That kind of rapid growth is almost unheard of. Imagine what a 1,200% jump does to your inbox.
It's life-changing. And then there's the Opsonot case study. Creators went from 2,000 to 50,000 followers. They did this in just 6 months using AI workflows.
We also see professionals reaching over 100,000 followers. They're monetizing that loyal audience full-time.
The weekly creation time dropped by an incredible 80%.
It's beat. But let me ask you this. Does relying on AI for volume sacrifice the depth of the content?
No, not at all. The AI simply handles the heavy lifting of structure and drafting, which frees up the human to focus entirely on the high-level strategy and unique insights.
So AI handles the repetitive structure while you control the strategy.
Exactly. You become the visionary director instead of just the manual typist.
Seeing numbers like a 1,200% engagement increase is exciting. But honestly, it can also cause massive psychological overwhelm.
Oh, for sure.
If the return on investment is so remarkably clear, why do beginners freeze?
Well, it's a very common psychological roadblock. They simply do not know where they should begin their journey. The possibilities are paralyzing.
They freeze because they don't know what to actually say.
Right. The later.com survey in our roadmap is very telling here. It shows that 65% of creators stall without a roadmap. They feel completely lost.
The blank page is a deeply terrifying thing. You sit there with all your expertise trapped inside your head.
Yeah, and structured AI workflows reduce that deep uncertainty. They provide helpful prompts, proven templates, and solid creative frameworks.
It essentially gives you a guardrail.
Exactly. This guides beginners safely through the entire creation process.
A lot of the overwhelm comes from juggling multiple software tools, too.
Yeah.
Beginners are often intimidated by the sheer number of options.
Right. Every day there's a new app claiming to change everything.
Exactly.
Research from content.A confirms this widespread problem. Using too many tools without a workflow causes massive daily stress.
It makes content creation feel incredibly inefficient.
It becomes needlessly heavy and complex.
Many beginners worry about wasting their valuable, limited time. They fear seeing very little return on their early creative efforts.
But the data from the Net Influencer Report changes that narrative. Integrating AI workflows can save you 6 to 12 hours a week.
That is huge.
It really is. It helps produce measurable engagement within just a few short weeks. You can test and iterate so much faster now.
You see what works, and you pivot instantly. The source notes a very common mistake new beginners make. They try to build a logo, a color palette, a website, and a calendar all at once.
That's a classic trap.
Wait, isn't personal branding literally just having a recognizable logo and color scheme?
I mean, it's a totally understandable assumption, but no. The fundamental rule in the source is to start much smaller.
Okay.
You must define your specific audience and your core message first. Your message is the anchor. Then and only then do you build the visuals around that.
That makes sense. The paint doesn't matter if the house is falling down. How do we prevent tool fatigue when the tech moves so fast?
You aggressively limit your stack. Focus solely on Claude for generating your text and Canva for designing your visuals. Ignore everything else until you master those.
Keep it simple. Use one tool for words, one for pictures.
Yeah, that constraint is actually your biggest creative advantage today.
Speaking of finding an advantage, today's deep dive is brought to you by FocusFlow. FocusFlow is a smart audio tool designed for modern creators. It plays ambient soundscapes designed to actively boost your concentration. You can finally block out digital distractions and actually finish your deep work. Check the show notes for a special listener discount.
It's a great tool.
It really is. So we know what common mistakes to actively avoid. We know we shouldn't start with a logo before we have a message. But how do we actually build this foundational system the right way?
Well, the roadmap lays this out in a very distinct sequence. Each phase carefully builds on the previous one.
You aren't just learning to use random software tools.
Right. You are building a full AI-assisted personal brand system from scratch. Module 1 starts with defining your absolute core foundation.
You're trying to figure out the bedrock of your digital identity. You are essentially building a digital extension of your own mind.
Exactly. You have to clarify exactly who you are to your future audience. You define who you actually want to reach online.
And most importantly, you decide what you truly want to be known for.
Yeah. You sit down and use AI-assisted prompts to define your core values. You treat the AI like an objective mirror.
You outline your target audience and your distinct brand promise.
You basically build a clear brand brief that gives your work direction, instead of just, guessing your niche.
Or worse, just copying other successful creators you see on your feed.
Exactly. Once that brief is locked in, you create your first visual identity kit. This includes your logo ideas, an avatar, colors, and basic fonts.
The goal isn't to become a professional graphic designer overnight. The goal is just to be highly recognizable to your audience.
Right. By the end of this foundational phase, you have a solid baseline. You have a clear positioning line and 3 core brand traits. You exist digitally.
That brings us to the next massive challenge, your brand voice. Once your foundation is clear, you have to turn that identity into content. You need a highly repeatable content system for your daily posting.
You really do. You need your posts, captions, and emails to feel deeply consistent. That is where you create what they call a messaging matrix.
Let me pause you there for just a second. Can you define messaging matrix for us?
Sure, it's a grid matching your audience's exact problems to your specific solution.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Beat. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, where the AI slowly loses my voice over time.
Oh, totally.
It just starts sounding like a generic corporate brochure.
That happens to everyone when they just use raw, unstructured prompts. The AI naturally regresses to the mean, but creating a strict tone guide fixes that problem completely.
So the tone guide keeps it on track.
Yeah. You also create reusable content templates using Claude as your central brain. You set up proven templates for your LinkedIn posts.
You design structures for your Instagram carousels.
Right. Then you build a full 30-day content calendar for yourself. It includes all your hooks, your captions, and your calls to action.
And Canva acts as the muscle to support your new visual identity. You use it to quickly design branded templates.
Based entirely on Claude's output.
How do you stop the AI from eventually sounding like a generic robot?
By strictly enforcing your brand voice system. You feed Claude your precise tone guides and reusable templates so it operates within strict creative boundaries.
Right. Strict boundaries force the AI to adopt your specific personality.
Exactly. It removes the creative guesswork, it completely prevents that drift, and keeps your digital voice authentic.
So you've locked in your specific voice and your visual style. The content is flowing. The final hurdle is scaling this system so you don't burn out.
Yeah, that's the dream.
And obviously actually turning all this attention into revenue.
That brings us to Module 3, which is automation. This is where you reduce the manual, repetitive work in your process.
You want the machines doing the mundane routing tasks.
Right. You use tools like Make and Buffer for simple post scheduling, Maybe connects your apps, and Buffer pushes the posts live.
You build a reusable workflow for your creative projects. This is highly useful if you manage multiple brand projects or clients.
It keeps everything meticulously organized in one place. On top of that, you create a brand governance checklist.
This sounds crucial.
It is. It helps prevent off-brand visuals or inconsistent messaging from accidentally publishing.
Then we look at your portfolio and monetization strategy in Module 4. This is where you turn your digital assets into something useful in the real world.
Yeah, you collect your logos, templates, and content calendar neatly together. You package your visual identity and sample posts into a professional portfolio.
You share this impressive package with potential clients or partners.
Exactly. And you create a detailed monetization plan. You aren't just posting for likes. This can include paid consulting, brand sponsorships, or selling digital products.
The case studies in this section are deeply fascinating to review. We see the real operational ceiling of founder-led personal branding. Lever Brands reported over £5 million in total generated revenue.
It's massive.
They achieved over 500 million impressions through AI-enhanced content. Beat. Whoa! Imagine scaling to 1 billion queries.
It is an almost incomprehensible scale for a single personal brand. It fundamentally changes what one person can achieve alone today. You become a one-person media empire.
And look at the corporate example of Chris Donnelly from the roadmap.
Yeah, he grew to over 1 million loyal followers on LinkedIn. He built a newsletter with 200,000 active subscribers.
He generated more than $10 million in total revenue. He did this through highly strategic AI workflows. But where is the line between smart automation and just spamming your audience?
The line is your brand governance checklist. It acts as a safety net to ensure every automated post is manually verified for quality and safety before it goes live.
Use a strict checklist so automation never sacrifices your brand's safety.
Exactly. Automation should amplify your core quality and never degrade your trust. If it feels like spam, you've automated too much.
As we finally wrap up, let's look at the big picture. How do we synthesize this entire journey for the listener today?
Well, personal branding is no longer about guessing what to post. It is a structured, highly measurable operating system now. By combining Claude for messaging and Canva for visuals, you can cut your creation time by 80% while multiplying your reach, turning a chaotic chore into a predictable growth engine.
It fundamentally transforms the way you interact with the digital world. The mechanics are handled, the distribution is solved.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a really interesting thought. If AI can perfectly mimic your professional voice, maintain your visual style, and scale your presence infinitely, what is the core, fundamentally human element that your clients are actually paying you for?
That is the ultimate philosophical question you have to answer now. The AI is just a mirror reflecting your distinct humanity.
Before you even open an app today, take one simple step. Step away from the screen. Write down just 3 core traits of your distinct brand identity on a piece of paper.
That's a great place to start.
Start with who you are before you try to scale it up to 1 million people. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. Stay curious, keep building, and we will talk to you soon.